So this nice ground, we'll drop that right in. Get some recycling down, break this up just a bit. Now here's the interesting thing. It's got a really crazy texture in this Cincinnati style chili meat. We're gonna cook it down to a point where it really has a real thin texture. It's kind of real fine. It's not big chunks like you might, typically find in chili. So there, a little bit of salt, some fresh cracked black pepper I always keep on hand, and we'll let that kind of work a little bit. So we're gonna take an onion, dice it up, and we'll put a little bit of onion in here to flavor the meat, but we're also gonna throw a little onion on top of it, and I'll talk about that in a second, about the chili going the 6-way. Or actually, it's 5-way. I think 6-way is when I put jalapenos on it. So we'll just give a little dice to this onion. Now, I recently shot on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. We went to Cincinnati to do Cincinnati chili, and do you know that Cincinnatians eat over 2 million pounds of Cincinnati chili a year, topped with over 850,000 pounds of cheddar cheese? So with all of that said, it's 80-20 ground beef. So the onions go in. Now look at the ground beef. I did this ground beef, it's an 80-20, and I kind of made this beginning of breaking down the meat nice and slow, little salt, little pepper, and some onions. Now I'm gonna go into the crazy seasoning. A little bit of ginger, about 2½ teaspoons. Little mustard, so the ginger and the mustard kind of give some spice and a little bit of sweetness. Get in some cinnamon, about 2½ teaspoons. Touch of there, a little cumin. A little bit of clove. This is really identifiable in it, but not overly clovey. Overly clovey, you know what I meant. A little whole nutmeg, okay? About a teaspoon. So the nutmeg in, a little bit more salt, and then here's the real kicker, and this is just a touch of some cocoa powder, about 3/4 a teaspoon there. Now, mix it all together. It's really key to do this in a little bowl by itself, because if I just went and dumped everything right off the bat in, then what happens is I get kind of a spot of cinnamon, a spot of nutmeg, and I want this to be a nice blend all the way across the top. Now this is gonna continue to cook for about another hour, and I got some more ingredients I'm gonna add into it in just a second, but it's gonna go low and slow and really break down, and it's gonna get this really nice fine texture to it. We're gonna hit it with a little bit of beef stock. There's onions in there, but what kind of makes it weird is all the seasonings that I put in. Oh, I've got everything from nutmeg and clove to cinnamon to even a little bit of chocolate. So there's about 4 cups of beef stock, some tomato sauce, and this is all part of building the real big depth and flavor. Now, for some of you that are looking at this are going, wait a second, it looks like Cincinnati chili. It's kind of from that idea. Worcestershire and apple cider vinegar. That's why I love squirt bottles. Those go in there, okay. Bucatini pasta, which is kind of a spaghetti with a hole in it, going into what's called weird spaghetti, or some people might know it as like a Cincinnati chili. It's not exact Cincinnati chili, but kind of my rendition. And we'll get that right in on top. Bring it over into the dish. Now what you see over here to my left, oh, we got some shredded cheddar and some onions, and that's gonna go on top. Look at this pasta. There we go. Some of that great meat on top of it, all those crazy spices that went into it. A little bit of the cheddar cheese. So I'm having it 2-way. I think this is now 3-way. Hit some onion on top of it, 4-way. If I went 5-way, I'd put beans on it, but this is the way I like to do it. I'm not waiting for these guys. I gotta try this. Fantastic.